Hello, good evening. My name is Bakataja and welcome to my stream. So today I'm going to continue playing more of the Yakuza Kiwami 2. So yeah, let's do that. The last time I think I was doing most side quests, but we basically saved our girl. Not our girl. It's a girl from a cop girl. And now I think we are back to Kamurocho. If I remember correctly. Yes, I think we are, yeah. We are back at that bar when Nishike and Kiryu went. Usually it went off. So yeah. What's that? Full screen, please. There you go. Hidden past, right? There you go. Just a second. Should check, catch a camera. Ah, okay, I need to go there. There we go. Okay, yeah. Top of here. This is oh. Is it something different with my settings? Yeah, it shouldn't be like this. I don't know why it's changed. Way better, way it's... There we go. Ah, okay, we have lockers here. We have a lot of... Aha, this shows... This looks the same as all of the other Yakuza games. Okay, with the others for the...
Oi!
Come on, Asuka, aren't you getting away that easy? Against all the odds. I wasn't trying to get away. I have a replacement on the way. How would I forget? Ah, silly me. You just walk inside, okay? Stop trying to weasel your way out of this. Hey, that's the guy. He's my replacement. Excuse me. Oh, okay. Getting in like this, huh? Well, imagine that. Takasaka was telling the truth, and here's our man in the flesh. You're playing for him, right? Right. They're right. They're right. You're here to play my own.
Yeah.
For me, I don't even. You're breaking my balls here, man. I think twice if I were you. Your body here's has been revealed by some. What? You pinch hit for now and you're starting at 1,000 points. Lose one hand and you're done. Awesome. Hey, I will take my own god turn. They was not sorry. But now you're dead where you stand. Well, I'm making this more interesting. If you win, we are clear every last scene of this guy's depths. Bad chance though. Please help me with everything. have only really the devil in my own. If you don't do this, I'm gonna do it. What they're going to do me when I can pay up? Oh, everything I think. Finally take his spot. You got a real hard of God, buddy. But if you win, yeah, you said we will be clear of that, right? Sure will. But if you lose, the deputy is going to the city. Please don't lose. Now come on, let's get going. Okay. Basically I don't know how to play it, so... This is different. I'm used to something. This is like... Am I just lucky or what? I need to restart this. This was not good. Four players. Hold on. Circles, bamboo, characters. This is so complicated. So basically I'm throwing out the one that I don't need, I think. Whoa. Okay. So, point is like we can have 3 the same.
Cheat.
Oh, does that mean? That doesn't mean that I'm getting anything? Ah, damn it, I had...
Cheat.
Oh, I do fuck. 6, this is 9. I have 1, I don't have 2, but I have 3, 4 and 5.
Cheat.
Okay, I lost the points. Six, 7, 9, and 8. 3, 5, 6, 7. Is this an 8?
C. C.
Okay.
C.
Mahjongらしくなってきた。
今晩どうしようかな。
So hot. Okay. This one. Need to keep that. Two, 4, 5, 7. I could have 6. Don't do that one. I have a 6 now. Okay, I want to. Don't have the second one. Dragons. Oops. My bad. Yeah.
Whoa.
Ooh, okay. So it's better to have something in a hand, okay. Let's try this again. 5, 6. Don't have the wings. We have one. Six, 7, 8. Okay. Throwing this out now.
今晩どうしようかな。
俺様の流れだ。
This is a double one. Gee, okay. It's a good one. 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay. This one is 8. 7, 6. A draw? Okay. Three, 7, 4, 1. Set this out. Okay. Luck to have 6 one of these. Pa, 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 pa. Ah, just gotta do this, damn it. 4, 5. Let's throw this out. Three, 6. Nah. 2, 3. Need a 6 and that one is 7. This one's easy. G. Five. Oof. 2, 3, and a 4. Again a draw. Okay. works out. Double one. Before I need to. Oh, okay. I don't understand. Like, let's get out of this. No, 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 no. Stupid. I'm playing through the controller, dude. I don't know how much money this guy. How about not save? How about load? No. Yes. Nope, not going to this one again. Ah, no, 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 no. I can guess you're fighting. Come on. There we go. How's my stomach all of a sudden? Any food here? Oh, it's back there. Come. Here, burger place. Oh my god, why is this? Let's just check controls. Why are you? Yeah. I guess we gotta get down here. Get down. They notice me. Aha. Can we not? What? Kirsan, this is Tiago. Tiago, are you alright? Yeah, I'm. This is Kazuma. Kirsan. Who the hell are you? We'll find soon enough. Beyond Tiago Dojima to leave. Meet me at 1 a.m. tomorrow at Mano building. Sure. About Chairman Koga. Risky life. We'll find soon enough. Oh sure, he will come along. Fine. See you. Okay. Tomorrow 1 a.m. Dojo Japan officer will want to hear this.
どちらまで行かれますか？それでは出発いたします。
Okay, let's go to the HQ.
合流会がクーデターを。
合田隆二は何が何でも関東と関西の全面戦争に持ち込む腹積もりです。
二人を連れ去った海外組織の正体は分かったのか？
いいえ。
それで大悟を連れ去ったその男は深夜の1時天野ビルに一人で来いと言ったんだね。
はい。
これは罠だよ。
分かっています。ですが行かないことには相手の素性も狙いもつかむことができません。
そりゃそうだがね。
その海外組織と合流会は裏でつながっているのか？
間違いないでしょう。合田会長と大悟を誘拐するのは合流会以外に考えられませんから。
俺の組事務所を爆破したのもその海外組織の仕業か？
ということはカムロ町に詳しい組織に違いない。それならなおさら一人で行くのは危険だ。進藤、天野ビルがあるところはお前の島内だったね。相手に気づかれないように桐生の警護をしてやってくれ。
お断りします。
What? Why not?
どういうことだ？
うちの若い衆は桐生のおじきに組み潰されかけた恨みを忘れちゃいません。ですから警護なの。
バカ野郎。あれは錦山が裏切ったからだろうが。
そのことは重々承知しております。しかし自分たちは錦山の親父に惚れてこの世界に足踏み入れたんです。今でも親父に対する思いは変わりないんです。
組の方針に従えないのかい？
たとえ道場界の大門を外されようとそれだけ。
分かった。錦の男気を一番よく知っているのは俺だ。お前たちの気持ちはよくわかる。ただ一つだけ聞いておく。
何でしょう？
俺に対する恨み以外腹の中に包み隠してるもんはないだろう。
ありません。
そうか。それまで。
失礼します。
Okay. Want help? Fine then. Here I have some personal I would like to discuss with you. You with me in the first floor. She disappeared. Okay. I save it and just restart the game really fast because these controls are annoying me. Settings. But yes. Since you start playing with the, I mean, when you're trying to move with the mouse, you just change the controls. It's kind of stupid. And just suddenly change area layout of your mouse and keyboard and, I mean, like, controls. Just I can do this really fast. Yeah. Synchronize. Okay, play. Why do you still see a mouse in the middle of the screen? What is wrong with you? Okay, it's good. Yeah, it's better. Here the prison I got in Ireland's too. Yes. Here, I would like you to have this. Key to warehouse. It's meant for you to have it a long time ago. Key. Open a saloon here in the headquarters storage room. Storage room? Why you give it to me then? Kiwami said something that reminded me of it. The person effects of several of the officers we lost last year kept him there. And Kiwami said that Rada had everything locked away. I wouldn't would he do that? Can't say for sure, but knowing how difficult it is to keep order in here, I would imagine he didn't want the men running in the clans fast. I never knew. I guess you find something that can help guide the torture conflicts. It's gonna have to look anyway. Also really patrzcie. It's not the storage. Doors here, doors there. Is that a... Doesn't look like it. Okay. Okay, I think you need to go back inside and back where I was before, I think. There used to be a wall scroll here. It must have been cleaned up. There's nothing for me here. Okay. Oops. Took your eyes involved there and I have noticed too much sober up and drinking water. Okay. In advanced story for our wearables. Okay, inventory wearables. Okay, let's get out then. To this separate building. Can just go back there. What plan? Okay. You need to find hidden room. Okay. No doors there. This one. It's here. Can't go there.
To.
Oh, it could be upstairs where the books were. Looks like it. Maybe. Eh, Chicago, how are you doing, man? It took some fun out. Good. Oh, he didn't have a taste, not think he did otherwise. It's not a scroll, it's not that. Okay. A bit late, I was playing because I'm in a car. Doing alright. Nothing really special. Landscape painting, I don't recognize it. It's practical photography. Okay, nothing here. Can't go inside here. Okay, I checked out the first floor here. Anything? Nothing. Another painting there. Nothing. Oh, what's that stuff there? The only ways to get out of here? Check what is here, maybe? Oops. Sorry.
To.
Over there.
Oi.
Hey,
Okay. Says nothing. Where? What the hell? It's outside here, okay. Sorry. It's there.
ah,
Well, a lot. Ooh, hello. There we go. Finally, found something.
Nani?
Nani? Okay.
Hmm?
This is a dagger of this pattern. It's probably decent that you want to find it, but I think the idea. Okay. Nice. Okay. Let's go to her. If she decided this, I think, to go on, we should prepare for possibility that the Nishikima family could break from the clan. True, but losing them would mean losing half of the clan's manpower. This Nishikima family got that big. Last year, she took a command and absorbed patron of Shimano family too. There were the clan big as groups. Panic made a mess. Goryu could invade Kamurocho any day, and now this. Can hardly hold ourselves together, much less fight war. What if he were to come back? Who? There's only one guy I know with the power to stand up of Goryu clan sequel. Oh, don't tell me. No, I'm that serious. And crazy mad dog doesn't take well to colors. I have seen what happens to it firsthand. I know the risks, but I also know what is at stake. Be sure I should just try and purgatory then. He hands out there? In a manner of speaking, yes, the things have changed since last year. Better to see yourself. The entrance is still at that public bathroom near the last park. I never understood it, but it makes what much sense as purgatory does. Careful.
Hey.
I'll do my best. Okay, I will check someone, but I don't know which one. Well, dispatcher from common sense that there's a gas leak in the premise. I need to go to the here. There's nothing to calm down. I suggest you turn around. If I can ignore, I'm going to lose my job. What? You don't ask me this and we are fine. You leave me no choice. What the fuck are you doing? Are you okay? Damn. I never really seen fish stop him. That kind of hitman? He's not making it past me. Okay. Oh, okay. There we go. Lost a lot of life, but he must have been sent by only lions. Who the fuck was he? Not even matters, but I'm about to bleed out of him. Thank you for your help, Pop Charming. It's fine. Dojo Clan is going to be assaulted from every angle now. You gotta stay sharp. Keep security tight too. Yes, sir! Should we get back to Morocho? Yes, get back. I think we've done everything here possible. What? Sama? What's up? What's up? Oh, that's what's up. I don't really get the position you're in. Do you zip it like that again? I would You were unconscious, what I suppose to watch you sleep? Whatever. Let's just say confused, get out of the chair quicker. Anyway, where are you? Out in Kamurocho. Oh, perfect. Can you do me a favor? I guess? Can you pick me a few things for me? Oh, okay. And we shop for you. Listen, let's not make anything more awkward than it is than it has to be. I need some underwear. Okay. Is that a joke? Look, I didn't know I would stay in Kamurocho like this. Came along, and while you're out, I could really use some beer. Seriously? Underwear and beer.
Yeah.
Sorry, you were breaking up. See, okay. The classic breaking up. I really want that one. Ooh, nice. Whoa, okay. Nice. Bam. There we go. Now leave me shopping. Do you have any beer? Sorry, coming through. Oh yeah, the corner one. Okay, good enough. So there are mostly food here. Ah, okay. Go down there. Sounds like an empty streets. I mean, it's like nothing. Oh, oops. Hi there. There we go. Got the stuff. Oh, why do we have the side still here? Excuse me, are you... Oh, this is a man. Until Kazama Kirsan? Yeah, that's me. Oh. Well, it's a pleasure to finally make you your acquaintance. I'm sorry, the cameras of Sunflower Orphanage. Ah, hello. Sunflower? Kazama-san created the orphanage, Nishiki, Yumi, and later Haruka. They all grew up here. It's about Haruka. It's having Well, they're causing any trouble. Trouble? Oh no, quite the opposite. If anything, the orphanage is never so bright as when she's around. That's a relief. But if I would mind asking you what happened to the old caretaker. Oh, he was having a spot of health trouble, so he made the decision to go back to his family in the country. I have taken over his absence. I see, but what brings you to here to the city? Isn't the safest part of the town? Oh yeah, I'm shy to admit it that all you people, but the money is getting tight lately. After Kazan passed, things getting difficult to say the least. It's hard to say. Kawasaki's son stepped in as a beneficiary, but in spite of all the best acts, we were just too busy to spare much as attention. I know this is a lot of ask of you, but do you have any love for the orphanage? Still, you think you could assist us with education donation? I owe everything to some father and cousins. Can't promise I will be matched apart, but someday I can agree with Will you? Oh, thank you so much. Make a regular trips to Kamurocho to pick up stuff so you can talk to me anytime to make a donation. Or if it's more convenient, use the ATM in a convenience store around 2 hours. That's easy enough. Out of curiosity, are you thinking how much do you think it will mean? Well, not. I think they're in the ballpark of 8,000. It gives us quite as far as basic cleaning expenses can go. Got it. Thank you, son. 50,000, Jesus. I actually can make her. That should be good enough. 1, 2, 3. There is a lot of side stories here, of course. Kamurocho is big, very big. Sorry. What's your problem, asshat? Bumping into me to get your greasy fingers out of my nice shirt? Sir, you're the one who bumped into me. My shirt was already dirty. Jesus Christ. Sorry about that. You're telling me I'm wrong, asshat? Briefing the baker. Befriending the baker. Have the... Oh, Barker, something like that. If he won't say you're wrong, I will. What's that tough guy want a piece of meat this too? Well, yeah, I guess. Bugs. No, there's only one. Easy enough. Son of mine, I will pay for my own dry cleaning. Jesus Christ. Yes. Thank you, sir. You saved my life. I don't know if that guy really cared out of me. But I don't think he will be back to bother you again. Sure, sir. I will pay back for this Sunday. Just wait. The Barker is your Elena. Okay, thank you very much. Oh. Let's go up here. So far, I didn't find much of those keys for those lockers. Perfect.
さあ行くか。
ありがとうございました。
That's an I got here. May I ask your name? I'm Kid. Thank you for stopping my Kid-san. I will put my heart and soul into every ball around I make, so come back and try it out when you can. That's something. Okay. I might be a regular one. Bunch of force. Sorry. Past streets close tonight. You're going to make the go around. Don't push your luck, yeah? This is pathetic. Out of my way, punks. Punks! You really want to make fun of us? Okay, we are going down. What? Gondawara family, don't ya? You, I don't really care. Stop acting like children. Stop acting like a child. Step aside. Oh, I mean, stop acting like children. Okay. Sounds like this ass cat got that wish. Let's show the shit back how we handled him. Jesus. Nice. Yeah. Nah. There we go. Whoops. I sprayed a bit. What the hell you idiots are doing? Look, trying a guard before you jump on it. Sorry about that. I'm Gondawara, patriarch of our family. I gotta say, you really laid down the smack out on my man here. Damn pigs, you need dear to my heart. Well, your man brought up to himself. Keep out of the road if they're going to pass the people like that. Her teacher last, don't worry about that. And hey, just to show ya I have no ill will, why don't you come with me for my favorite cup? My treat, of course. Let me check out the girl. Let me tell you, the girls there are something else. The service, the service will really blow you away if you catch my drift. It's actually kind of easy. Come on, don't be shy. Sure about that, you can wait a bit longer. Guess so, why not? I tell you, girl, it's already late. Think on it, right? Just kick back and relax, and let all your worries melt away. I'm telling you, this place is paradise. Paradise? Huh? Paradise?
Hmm?
Sure. Oh yeah.
はじめまして、マチコです。
So, get that familiar name, big boy. It's cute. Kazuma cute. Oh, Kazuma. I'm afraid that sounds much too old. How about Kaz? This is giving mixed feelings. So, Kazuma, would you prefer the brass or the big bottle? What kind of question is that? Care to explain what this to me, but just answer the question. Oops or milk? I don't see the point of this question. Well, I'm letting you pick if baby drinks from the bottle or gets his milk straight from the source. Her baby. Wait, what's the deal with this baby stuff? Do you have the baby in there to do this? Of course I do. Right in front of me. Yeah, I kinda suspected that. They're weird. Be my baby. Excuse me. Now let's get out of those dirty pants into a nice clean diaper. Ooh.
やめろ。
どうや楽しんどるか
No!
最高のプレイやろ
No!
何もかも忘れて
Oh no!
甘えてんじゃ
進むちゃん勝手に外したらダメでちゅよ。
ああまずまず
すまないが俺の趣味じゃない。悪いが帰らせてもらうぞ。
またんかい悪いわしの声を無視するとはいい度胸やないき
Dude, no, but you're fucking weird, man.
許しおきんお前らあいついてもたれ
Let's pacify this. Okay. We're fighting big babies in diapers. Jesus Christ, I'm going to die so soon.
ほほう。なんという味だ。
Stop it! No! Oh, Jesus Christ, okay. No! Ah, let me out! Jesus Christ, dude! Okay, let's try some of this. This is boost level as 2. Oh, come on, let me be. Oh, Jesus. No. No. Okay. Nice. That is not wanted. Oh. Ouch. Ah. How can you always get the come on? There you go, you bastard big baby.
あんたが好きなことが他人も好きとは限らねえんだ。こんな子守はもうごめんだぜ。
Wait, you guys want to get pushed down on another map? Actually, thank you. But you're just weirded out by that shit as you. You didn't swear up to become babies. Did your boss say you were dappers, you were dapper now? The way I'm way more getting to Doom, honestly. You're thanking your boss tracked into this fetish. Yep. All these caps him realized nothing I was going to be missing kings. Yeah, good luck guys. Be my baby. There we go. Finish that one. I think this is the drugstore here. Ah, yes. I was before.
いらっしゃいませ。ありがとうございました。
Oh, right there. What are my stats? Enough? Nope. I wonder there's still those cars there, no? You remember those model cars? Forgot what it was, some racers. Let's do a main quest. Okay, we're outrun them. She's not here.
おい、どこにいるんだ？どこへ行ったんだ？
ああ、さっぱりした。汗で体中がベタベタしてたからサウナにでも行こうと思ったんだけど、隣の店にシャワーがあったから勝手に使わせてもらったわ。
そうか。
多分昔風俗店だったんでしょ。狭いフロアにあんなにシャワールームを設置して。関西なら一発で謙虚だわね。
体はもう大丈夫なのか？
やっと熱が引いたわ。傷口ももう痛まなくなったし、これでいつものように動けるわ。
まだ無理しない方がいい。
買い物ありがとうね。
なあ、登場界の過去を調べるために俺に近づいたと言ってたな。
Uh-oh, she's busted. Uh-oh.
彼の身辺保護をすれば登場界に近づける。そうすれば過去に何があったか調べることができるわ。
盗み聞きするつもりはなかった。
そこまで分かっていてなぜカムロ町に連れてきたの？
登場界と聞いたからな。
興味があるの？
まあな。何があったのか教えてくれ。
ママが話していた通り、私は本当の親を知らないまま育ってきたの。小さい頃から病気で死んだと聞かされていたけど、ママが何か隠していることは薄々感じてた。そんな時ママが電話で怒鳴っているのを聞いちゃってね。
なんて言ってたんだ？
カオルは登場界のせいで不幸になったってね。
登場界のせいで？
あの時ママは私の過去を知っている人と話をしてたんだと思う。それから十数年、何度となくママにそのことを聞いても何も教えてくれない。そんなこと聞いても幸せになれないって言うばかり。
お前の勘違いってことはないのか？
ママの反応を見ればわかるわ。絶対に何かを隠してる。でもママを問い詰め続けるのは私も辛い。だから警察官になって自分自身で調べる道を選んだの。
お前は両親を登場界に殺されたと思っているのか？
これだけ自分の生い立ちを隠されたらそう推測するのが普通でしょ。
それを確かめるために身辺保護の名目で俺に近づいたってわけか？
相手に手の内がバレちゃ刑事失格よね。
お前の気持ちわからないでもない。
え？
俺にも隠された過去があったんだ。
隠された過去？
ああ。だが俺はそれを知ってしまったことで苦しかった。知らない方が良かったとさえ思った。もしかしたら人間には知らなくてもいい過去があるんじゃないのか？
それは自分の過去を知っている人間のセリフよ。
そうかもしれないな。
Hey, I've got something somewhere to go. Oh yeah, where? The place that is called Purgatory. Purgatory? Sounds cheery. Where is it? Well, the entrance is disguised as the bathroom near the bar. And what we're just going to find in this purgatory? A little corner under the walls. You never know. I'm not sure to follow, but I'm coming. What to say? Let's move. That is the purgatory that's near the park, if I remember correctly. Alright. Sorry.
行きましょう。
Sorry.
Oi.
Kiryu-san. Yes? Oh. What? So everyone knows me here. Please, you need to take that tone with me. I'm a people of Komaki. Oh, as you are. Komaki, the old man still finding new students, correct? Master Komaki, right? Said finding. Right, the Komaki guy. Here, take this. That's a Komaki wasn't wrong about it. Truly a man who speaks with his fists. Would you trade an email address and have valuable information to you? What kind of information? Well, sometimes I get a word of thought guys who came out of the woodwork to challenge the famed dragon Gojo. I can tell you these enemies are well provided. Surely Master Komaki's star people wouldn't turn down the opportunity to face a worthy adversary. Well, you're not wrong. Great. I will meet email. Farewell. With that job done, complete farewell. Okay. Bye. Want to go there? Come on, come on! I wonder about something here. Here at school, I think. That still exists. Key! Yay! That should be around. Yep. Sorry. Oh, I can go down here, so there is no more of those cars, man. That's a shame. There we go. Oh, knee deep in trouble. Oh, please help me. What could a guy or asking could possibly help me? Please help, I'm begging you. Hey, are you okay in there? Could say I'm coming out. Oh well, I don't think I came out. Oh, door jammed? Can buzz it down for me? No, it's not that. It's really hard to move. Sounds pretty serious. Hold on, I can call your ambulance. Wait, you don't need to do that. Don't be ridiculous. I need to help before it's too late. Wait, hello police? I got a sick man who needs some help in children's park. No man, I'm shit myself, alright? Happy now. It looks like I waded through the knee high river of chunky chocolate pudding. Okay. Wait, that's the smell? You heard me. It's called brown in here. This hang up with you. Right. I think it's all better in the way. You don't need an ambulance after all. Please, you're my only hope. Can you help me? Fine, what do you need? Fresh pair of underwear, please. Oh, one that isn't scared like a black horizon. Fine. So that means I need to go down here. That is really far. I will not go there yet. Car driving here on the streets? They were not driving around here before. That is interesting. Hello. Damn, boy.
しばらく寝てろ。
行きましょう。
Thank you for the money. Hello. Hey, are you interested in making some sweet memories tonight? Excuse me. Sorry, let me start over. I work for a photo studio that says open right here in the fashion street of the lodge. Right here I'm trying to tell the people all over the world that they got stolen. Yeah, sorry, having a picture doesn't sound that fun or fast. Wait, don't get me wrong. You are the one taking pictures, not me. How does that work? Our studio puts the customer in the control, letting the snap hot pics, even the hot ladies. How does that sound? Ah, unique, nothing else. We only hire the precious one in town. What did they say? You bought the girls up really good, then what even that you have some special photos. You know what I mean? Special. Ah, I see. I picked your interest just for me. Honestly, pal, I don't that say no more, my man. I will make your first time free as a promo deal. Let's be off, man. Okay. Hey, who said I agree to this? Ready for action? Kyoko-chan, we have a custom for you. Hey, join us up. I know you will. Right. Are you nervous, mister? That's so cute, yeah. It's my first time quest like this. That's okay. You do the best on that. Sounds might be bad or not. Your appears as snowflake, mister. Maybe I would be funny.
Nani?
I hope. Well, but any numbers? What? Maybe? Guys, because you like seeing each other, right? Looking forward to it. Up to it, I guess. I think I don't have the filter on. That's fine. There's no videos. Hey. Okay, that was whatever. Hey. Guess I got that. It's not here. Where is it? Ah, here it is. Sorry. Oh, where is the way out? Oh, come on, I don't want to be lost in this building. Get out. Out. Streets? Nope. There we go. Final. Right here at the forget. No. Okay, got something. Oh, Kiryu, it has been forever. Hey, Mona, how does going to the info business? Can I talk to you in a while? Yeah, same old, same old. What have you been up to? Have you seen you around? Yeah, I don't you live here anymore.
Ah,
That will explain it. But if you never need a recall, you know that you're a man. I will cut you a good deal. Still hang around the theater if you need me. Hope to see you around more. Don't worry, you won't see anything. Stay close now. Oh, she's going to see a lot.
ここなの？
俺も初めは信じられなかった。
Oh, it's different now. They're building stuff here.
1年前とは全く違う。
前はどんな感じだったの？
ホームレスのたまり場だった。
何かの工事をしているようね。
久しぶりですね、桐生さん。ボスは地下の一番奥でお待ちしています。どうぞ。
I think, is this a new car?
Oh, 地下にこんな街があるなんて。
驚くのはまだ早い。
What is this place? Probably the better not to ask questions. Just follow me, would you? Yeah. Be quiet and don't ask questions. Omi-san!
やっと来た。ねえ。
Oh, what handsome there you are.
ね
Oh, thank you. Hello there. Well. This is Kiru-san. And you really defend this? You're...
Yeah.
What? Nothing. Perish the thought. Got some business to say. Of course, you're welcome anytime, sir. Why the weapon?
桐生だ。誰かいるのか。いるのは分かってるんだ。出てきてくれ。待ってたで。桐生ちゃん。
Oh, hello.
桐生ちゃんが仇になってしもうて、この1年めっちゃ寂しかったわ。せやけど桐生ちゃんなら絶対にこの町に帰ってくると思っとったで。
Quarter management course. Management instructions.
何この人。
元東上会島の組の若頭。俺の兄貴分だった人だ。1年前の事件にも絡んでる。久しぶりだな、真島の兄さん。なんや桐生ちゃん、もう女作ったんかい。この好きこましが。誤解すんな。照れることないやんけ。なあ姉ちゃん。
府警第4課主任佐山薫です。よろしく。
府警4課。姉ちゃんデカなんか。桐生ちゃんどないなってんねん。それよりどうしたんたここにいるんだ。ここの前の親分がいなくなったからや。花屋が。
花屋。
ああ、1年前ここにいた伝説の情報屋の名前だ。
Right, the florist.
せや、通称サイの花屋。元警官のおっさんや。なんや情報を渡すときに花束使うてたらそないな名前になってもうたらしいわ。花屋はどうしてるんだ。表の人間になったらしいわ。表？なんや警察の下請けでカムロ町のモニター映像から情報提供をやってるらしいわ。まある意味花屋にとっちゃ元の鞘に戻ったってだけのことなんやがな。 つまり警察関係者になったってことか。
そうや。それがきっかけでサイの河原は機能せんようになったんや。そこで俺は真島建設を立ち上げてカムロ町ヒルズの建設事業を請け負った。
カムロ町ヒルズ？
上に立っとったやろうが。バカでっかいビルの鉄骨があれがカムロ町ヒルズや。まあ俺のほんまの狙いはそれに乗じてこの地下街を丸ごといただくことやったんやがな。
あんたも意外に頭が回るんだな。
せやろ。で、今日は何の用や。
登場会に戻ってくれ。
かしこまって。何アホなこと言うてんねん。桐生ちゃんに冗談は似合わんわ。
本気だ。今の登場会にはあんたが必要なんだ。戻ってくれ。
お断りや。
頼む。
やめや桐生ちゃん。俺は桐生ちゃんのそないな姿見とうないんや。
頼む真島の兄さん。登場会を救うには真島組の力が必要なんだ。頼む。
しゃあないね。それなら一つ条件があるわ。
なんだ。
桐生ちゃんにしかできへん仕事や。
まさか。
せや、トーナメントや。で、引き受けるか。
トーナメント？どういうこと？
Where will be fighting, baby?
先にセレナに戻っていてくれ。おい。
So where the forest go?
Oh.
It's up in the Millennium Tower. What? Bro, the last part. Guys get stuck underground, so the start down the sky. Oh, maybe they bombed him. Anyway, you're ready for old-fashioned fist beating. Hit me when you're ready, Kyuchan. Maybe we should check with Maki before attacking the store. Majima is strong as ass. Probably still the same thing. Back to running. Is he here? Looks like it. Here has something wrong. Do not, I just pooped. And if you eat well, I need to make sure 8 hours sleep per night. Believe me, I sleep like a log. But I guess my appetite has been low lately. There's only going to be some nutrient drink for me. Yeah, there is a lot of them. Energy drink might do the trick. I'm alive because of you. Okay, thank you, man. Don't mention it. Okay, another ally or something. Wondering what is. Okay, guess that's not the time yet. Mostly this is seamless, there is no loading screens, which they were before. Champion District? Nice. Give me the money. Okay, here's the last one. Okay.
しばらく寝てろ。
Money. There's a champion history here. 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 Hello. Ah, there you go. Hi, hello, old man. Oh, my prize fulfilled. So you have chosen the grace of me with your presence. Hey there, old man. Long time no see. I heard the whispers that dragon remasterizing the uncapped system promotion. I'm pleased to find that they were true. So, startled. She changed your idea. You haven't changed at all, old man. Sounds like you're pretty still active too. Oh, I have been glancing in my edge, but my strength shall endure all as mighty hero to the. What the hell? Where that mountain? Okay. Okay. I chose the sounds familiar. They said they're no more regardless, so now I can dedicate my entire strength to training people such as you. Said that we have already trained extensively, so let's first ensure that we do not lose like a blade in a beating rain. Show me strength. You want me to attack you now? No, I wanted to focus your energy in combat and let the power envelop you. So you will draw out the full extent of your strength. But elevate your consciousness to higher state of being. For this state. Extreme people. Extreme! Sounds pretty extreme! You will grow and accustomed to the time. This power shall rise within you effortlessly as the sun is dawn. Now activate your extreme right trigger. This charge will be adequate subject to your newly learned ability. Ready, my people? Nice. There we go. That was some extreme energy. Incredible, my disciple. Truly incredible. What do you mean by the drawing all of my strength? Remember that feeling you will prove valuable the next time you will beseech me to hooligans. I shall have another lessons for you in the future. Now get out and continue your training. Do thanks, old man. Okay. That is good.
Oi.
Oh, brother, are you interested in more training? This session should sharpen your skills to the metaphorical sword that should cut your foe's attacks. At the end, you will be learning monkey pulse reversal. That's a counter attack, right? Indeed, you will allow to detect your blows coming from any direction, as though you were flies buzzing around your head. What do you say, my dear disciple? Do you wish to know? Sure, teach me, old man. Oh, ho, ho. I appreciate your fervent enthusiasm and deep detail. Let's begin. Okay. As I mentioned before, pierced in this session, it's meant to be an item. You in the ways of the market pursuers. To activate, you stand still and wait for the enemy to attack and then press Y. Okay. That doesn't work. Come on. Is that the reversal? I'm not sure. Nope. Doesn't want to die. That was not that. Oh, okay. There we go. Oh, the person have mastered this particular skill. Done what people share it. You are the eternal pattern of splendor. Okay, got your head. That is all for this castle. Now get out and continue your training. Probably we have more training, so I'm going to finish it up here for today. There's something like a live skill there, yeah. Nice. There must be something watching. Probably it's going to be. Okay, I'm going to finish it up here. We still have the same chapter because I wasted half an hour with that my own whatever crap. I need to check how to play it. So yeah, thanks to everyone for being here, we appreciate it. Thanks to Shikaka for being here. So yeah, what's the time actually? Yeah, I'm going to finish up. I need to do some stuff. So yeah, the next stream is going to be on Wednesday. On Wednesday, more of this. So yeah, till then, I wish you a nice day and see you on Wednesday. Bye bye.